FinCity Tokyo EMP Special Advisor Hidekazu Ishida will talk on EM Universe in Japan. Please welcome him with a large applause. I'm EM Special Advisor at FinCity Tokyo. My name is Ishida, as has been introduced. Thank you for the introduction. If you could please show the slides. As Mr. Nakaso explained earlier, the list that we have that we are about to explain is such that it is not for the purpose of recommending individual managers or to solicit investments into the instruments that they invest in. So why are we encouraging EMP at FinCity Tokyo for those managers who are making investments in Tokyo? Why are we doing this? Let me explain. So asset owners and asset managers, the funds, the relationship between the two is like a cormorant master, if you will. So asset owners is the master who keeps the cormorants, and the funds who go after return are cormorants. There must be trust between the two. And so they fish based on trust. Asset owners do not know where the fish are. Well, fish is about return in this analogy. So on a global basis, emerging managers, new managers, they do business in areas where there are ample investment opportunities. There are no such asset managers who would start their business in a waning market, a market that's in decline. So the fact that there are activities and initiatives to push for such a market, well, in those areas, there are new investment opportunities that may not yet be identified by large asset managers. So it's first come, first served. You have to be the first there to capture new business opportunities as emerging managers. And emerging managers that I'm about to introduce, they not only have ideas, they also have competence, of course, and they persuade institutional investors. They earn the institutional investors' trust. That's what they're doing, as a fact. So behind that, of course, while having the same ideas, while having the same competence, there may be other individuals who have failed to set up a similar business. They may have had good ideas, but there may be numerous individuals who ended up not being able to set up a business of their own. So, but successful emerging managers were able to gain the trust of institutional investors. So for some, at least, they have qualified as investment managers. And FinCity, active investment, hedge fund investment for active investment, we were close to such managers. So talking about emerging managers, we were thinking of more liquid, listed instruments. But as was mentioned earlier, asset owners representative of Japan, asset management firms representative of Japan, we consulted with them for this program. And private equity buyouts and venture capitals, without them, the Japanese capital market cannot be fully covered. We will fail to capture the beauty of the Japanese capital market. So they told us that we should cover them. Thus, we decided to do so. So long-short strategy, the hedge fund instruments, and long-only instruments or strategies in the middle, engagement, activist type of investment. From the hedge fund perspective, it's often called event-driven. From the active investors' point of view, long-only strategy. So these strategies undertaken by the hedge funds, unfortunately, ever since the AIG incident, it became very, very difficult to set up such a fund here in Japan. But those who are very competent looked for competent personnel to provide funds to them. So of late, we're seeing emergence of such managers once again. And let me introduce some of them today. And a larger pond, a larger fish ground today is a private equity market, especially buyouts here in Japan. As far as domestic buyouts are concerned, Japanese asset owners are assisting emerging managers for their Fund 1. So they're becoming Fund 1 investors for emerging managers. That's what's starting to happen here in Japan. And that was quite impressive among the findings from our surveys. So I have chosen some managers who left us with strong impressions. And so these cormorants, if you will, the purpose, once again, is not to promote these cormorants. Cormorants and the cormorant manager, they form a team. They go after fish, and they look for delicious fish. They are successful in capturing such delicious fish. And that is what is happening that I would like to share with you. So let me go over the system that enables that. And as a list or catalog, I have chosen 15 asset managers from different fields. And based on public information, in principle, I have narrowed down the list. And public information in the public domain. Of course, registrations and filings under FIEA, that's the starting point for these managers. So Singapore, London, Singapore, the UK, those who are registered in those locations and investing in Japan. For such managers, although they may engage in similar activities, we have had to deselect them. We have had to remove them from the list. And based on public information, I have chosen these managers. So in press releases with actual names noted with detailed information disclosure. Of course, they stand out more if they have their actual names published with more detailed information. So we have not been able to cover venture capitalists very much, frankly speaking, as a result, and because of the degree of information disclosure. So there may be such issues with respect to the selection process, but the spirit is that whether the asset manager makes it to the list or not, well, it's not that there was a rigorous criteria that we applied based on public information on the net or interview articles by industry journals. Based on those, we have selected this group of managers. That's what it is. So there are those others who are not included in the list that perhaps should have been included. I'm sure there are such managers as well. But at least for today, I would like to show this list. The other managers who we were not able to include in the list, we would like to consider including them in the list for next year and onward. So there are 5 pages. And this is not in particular sequence or order, but let me show from liquid strategies, strategies with greater liquidity, not in particular order, but the top of the list is Bushido Asset Management, run by CEO Sugiyama. It's a firm founded by Mr. Sugiyama as CEO and president. At an independent hedge fund, he was very active and successful, and then he became independent, set up his own business. So Japanese equity long-short and market-neutral strategies, that's what he does. 20 years ago, we were seeing a large number of these strategies, but of late, platformers, multi-managers, because they're more profitable, people left for them, and it has become rare for an individual like this to become independent, setting up their own business. But that's what Sugiyama-san did, and he's successful and growing. And Mutaka Capital was set up by Muto-san. He was with Goldman Sachs. He used to be a multi-strategy manager. He founded Mutaka Capital in 2018, and he's engaged in Japanese equity long-short strategy. Next, Trivista Capital. Goto-san runs this firm. Misaki Toshi, Misaki Investment, this is an established engagement type investment firm. He gained experience there, and he does Japanese equity long-only strategy. And from quite early on, the second largest globally, Norwegian bank, Brue, they got a mandate from this Norwegian bank quite early on, and it was unprecedented. And they are growing with their Japanese equity long-only strategy. So they are entrusted with overseas asset owners' assets. So they're attracting foreign investors, which is great news, I believe. Next, Solaris Management. Mr. Toya-san has founded this firm. There is a funding gap in Japan. He invests in the funding gap. And he has illustrious background. So he was with Japanese SWF. He has experience in a number of major Japanese institutions. So Japanese corporations mispricing, that's what he focuses on as he invests. So that's the strategy that he is proposing. Next, Ariake Capital. Mr. Tanaka, the CEO from Goldman Sachs, who used to be with Goldman Sachs, set up this firm. He does engagement. It's an engagement fund specializing mainly in regional banks among financial institutions. Of the many engagement funds, he focuses on a specific sector, and he leverages his experience as an investment banker. So it's a sector with social demand, and in terms of an investment target, the hurdle's high. It's challenging, I believe. But conversely put, that's where the benefits are, perhaps. And so it's an engagement fund that is quite distinctive. That is how his fund is rated. An investment lab, which is run by Une-san. So a private Japanese equity venture capital strategy and public Japanese equity market neutral strategy. He does both, especially at the Japan Post Bank. He leverages his experience there, and he is conducting business with institutional investors. Next, Cadira Capital Management, where Sakamoto-san is the president and fund manager. Sakamoto-san was with Sparks, and listed equity impact strategy, especially sustainable Japanese equity strategy. He was doing that at Sparks, and he had overwhelming support from overseas investors. And with that experience, he founded his own business, Sparks. Ever since they were listed, it's been 20 years. It's an independent asset manager representative of Japan. And we've seen spin-offs of fund managers once they gain experience. Sparks is like an excellent school for fund managers. There are lots of graduates who go on to set up their own businesses. So we're not seeing as many startups as we wish to see in impact investment. And so this is a rare case, should I say. So in areas where it's said to be advanced in Europe, he develops products and instruments. Next, in the area of buyout. On this page, IA Partners, D Capital, Frontier Capital. I have selected 3 managers. Among the Japanese managers, most of them are from banks, and not many are attractive. That's been said for some time here in Japan as well as overseas. Institutional investors have complained about that for many years. But T Capital from Tokyo Marine, Mizuho Capital, MPC. Each financial institution is having an MBO of its own, and asset owners for each firm for their first fund, they would sponsor the first fund of these firms. And there are such asset owners now in Japan. IA Partners, DBJ, by a team spun off, became independent to form this firm. So JIC has been a participant since Fund 1. I'm not even sure if I can call this an emerging manager. They have such a solid structure from the beginning as the fund was set up. And D Capital, those who have gained experience in Unizon, the mid-level managers, to integrate DX and buyout. With that concept in place, they became independent. And fund number 1, from fund number 1, they have been very highly coveted and rated from institutional investors, particularly in Japan. That's how they got off to their launch. It's the same overseas, but buyout and venture. The first founder takes all the equity and would not cede that to their younger colleagues, successors. But managers with their experience under their belt is starting a business like this, which I think is worth our attention. Frontier Capital, those who have gained experience at have started their buyout fund with anchor investment. They're new, so they are working to regenerate local communities. Is that profitable? Most of the LPs would not like to see investment in local areas, but they are quite bold in making investments in local areas around Japan. And page 4, private equity and venture capital. These managers are close to the Marathon Capital Partners. private equity fund at Ant and others, those who have done small caps. Among the buyout transactions, smaller private SMEs investing in that style, and those who have excelled in such a style have spun off, became independent. SMRJs, according to SMRJ, well, there are some participants, and sovereign wealth funds are part of the investor base. And typically, well, we have carve-outs oftentimes of new businesses of corporations. And so it's like carving out a part of private equity business. Otherwise, it's like pouring water with a teaspoon in a bathtub. So investing in small firms, small companies like that, as the sponsorship becomes larger, it becomes less and less attractive and profitable. So it's small, a lot of alpha, but it's a strategy where large money may not necessarily apply. And so it's more reasonable to focus in that niche to start a business. And so this is an example of that. Fiducia is run by Shibata-san, Shimizu-san. They are the founders. It's a growth capital firm, and they invest in technologies. As Nakaso-san said, Japanese venture capitalists who invest in technologies, their aim oftentimes is IPOs. Once they have an IPO, they sell out. And so their holdings are limited in terms of the timeline. And investors, they would impose very strict restrictions saying that they must exit in 10 years' time. So having lots of companies for whom the investments end at IPOs. But this is not the case. So there are companies who have good technologies, and they want to grow, but rather than rushing for IPO, they want to take time to mature and continue to develop their technologies. And so they focus on such companies providing growth capital. So it's a new style as an initiative from what I can see. Next, a pure play venture capitalist, Kusabi limited liability partnership. Those who used to be in the venture capital industry, they've engaged in long discussions with JIC, institutional investors. So what is an ideal venture capital firm? After a long period of preparation, they gathered partners, they gathered team members, and this time they launched their first fund after a long period of preparation, careful preparation. So that's what's described in journals. So how are they different from ordinary venture capitalists, you may wonder, but as I said earlier, so longer tenors of investment, larger venture deals. Given those trends, they were quite meticulous in setting up their team, and from Fund 1, they were able to attract institutional investors. And on the last page, from venture capital firms, I have selected two. ISGS Investment Works, Sato-san, Ms. Sato, and Empower Partners run by Matsui-san, Murakami-san, Seki-san. These three individuals. Now, Empower Partners, I don't think there's anyone who doesn't know Empower Partners in the audience. So financial services and in industry, three very famous female individuals from both became partners to set up the Impact ESG fund that is called Empower Partners. They mainly invest in femtech, and they became a hot topic. And Japanese institutional investors, many of them, are investing in this. And ISGS Investment Works, for the first time in Japan, as a representative partner, there's this female partner. And this female individual has experienced as a venture capitalist. So very new in that the partner is women. Buyout is male-oriented, but venture capital, there's still a glass ceiling. It's said that the glass ceiling is very thick. In Silicon Valley even, it has become one of the issues. And I'm sure you know, but JIC's annual report in that as well. In private equity and venture capital industries here in Japan and elsewhere, promoting women, DE&I, promoting DE&I is going to be one of the issues for the industry. And this is an pioneering example of addressing that issue, these two firms. And other than these, there are firms with female partners, buyout funds run by female partners. Not that I have been able to capture all of them, but these are two of the examples that are quite prominent, because this is the first EM showcasing. So that was introduction to you in terms of EM showcasing. And 5 out of the list will be making their individual presentations later. With that, I would like to conclude my commentary. Thank you very much.